Hey, good morning, everyone. I wanted to do a quick video here to just capture how we do drunken sailor when we have an apparent iron condor. The reason I say apparent is it's pretty weak. It's not the normal 10,000 contract or higher that we see for a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday out of the that large IC holder. So with all that said, I've identified here in purple where we think the upper short and long legs are. And the same thing down here. This was placed in very, very small increments, and we think, of course, don't know, but a lot of the trades looking at the logs were at midpoint or even at the ask, which is interesting for both legs. So all that being said, we are presuming a short here at 59.55 and another short up here at 60.30. In the big picture, it's irrelevant. Don't get wrapped around the axle. What's important is that when we have a IC structure like this, drunken sailor again spans what we would consider the GEX transition, which is the white box here that is drawn automatically by the system, and it identified that P-trans, which is the strike at which it and all the strikes above it are positive, limited up to plus GEX here. So you can see plus GEX is going to be up in this range, and so you can see that we've got this nice green runway all the way on up here. So what that means in the big picture is that we're going to select drunken sailor for a couple reasons. So we're on the upper side of the transition. We've got this call dominated, although very, very weak, call dominated structure above us, and then all of a sudden it jumps a dramatic amount up here, right? We've got this 27.38 and 37.08 levels. Doesn't really matter which one is short or long, although we suspect that the 60.30 is short. In the big picture, what we're looking at here, upper DS upper, drunken sailor upper is chosen here because once we get above this level, the marble starts rolling the opposite direction down the hill. And what we can see on the upper part here is that it really becomes kind of noisy. And so intraday volumetrics, that's intraday activity, is really going to push us up here or not, right? If it does not, then charm is going to be pretty heavy, and you can see already that the out of the money calls from the price that we're at right now is already dominant to decay in the overhead. That's going to be a weight that sits on top of us as we go through the day. Now to the downside, drunken sailor is aligned with the lower legs for almost the exact same reason. You can see that we've got this negative put dominated or negative delta type of transition that's existing all the way on down here, and then all of a sudden we jump to some very, very large levels. Now those levels that we jump to are significant in that if we were to break through this, you can see that we've got some minor levels, but here's 5,000 due to some short calls there. Here's 6,000 due to some short puts here. Here's another 6,000 due to some short puts here. And you can see we're just back and forth, which is why we have chosen to draw what we call the DEX exposure or delta exposure a little bit lower, because we're looking for that strike at which it and all the strikes below are put dominated or negative delta dominated. So in this kind of construct of what we've got here, we're going to select DS lower down here just because of the magnitude, knowing of course if we fall out of this area, it could be another more secondary drunken sailor all the way on down to the lower part of the DEX negative transition. So just be aware of that. So the question probably will come up, why don't you just draw it all the way on down? And it's pure magnitudes. We do think that it's going to be difficult to overcome this, especially there's no clear gradient up into this area right now. And it's a Tuesday. Tuesdays are weak, generally weaker here. We're kind of right on the threshold where the overall gamma within the complex, we're almost sitting right at the zero in the complex, hence where transition is drawn. There's a lot of confluence here just to suggest that DS lower is here. If we fall out, we could meander on down, and then of course if we lose this lower 59.10, we do think that sets up a potential push south. But I note here there's very little calls down here, so just like movement up here is going to be driven by call volumetrics, movement down here is going to be driven by put volumetrics, and that's intraday action. We call that the spaghetti hitting the wall or sticking to the wall. So at the end of the day, here's how we chose DS. Magnitude spans the GEX ratio, or excuse me, the GEX transition, and at the end of the day, we think this is a good, fair estimate of where we're at. So be safe today. Don't get out over your ski tips. Inside of DS, inside of a weak IC, is probably going to be noisy, and so you could get chopped up. Just play the ranges and let it go at that. Hopefully you find this useful. Thanks, everyone.